Hey guys, Akil here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach Podcast. Today, we're going to follow up on our previous podcast episode. If you remember the last episode, we spoke about the 4 stages that each trader goes through. Today, we're going to dive into a little bit more detail and talk about how to navigate through those stages, specifically the first 2. Now, before we hop in, if you haven't done so already, make sure you rate, review, and share the podcast. That's the best way to keep this podcast growing. Got some great ideas from new traders who are new listeners. So the more we spread the word, the more awesome topics we have, and the more entertaining these podcasts are. Now, go back and listen to the previous episode if you haven't done so already, but as a quick reminder, this is a video episode. So if you are not watching this on Spotify or YouTube and you want to see me, weirdos, make sure you head over to either Spotify or YouTube. I believe those are the 2 platforms that show the video version. If not, just listen to my lovely voice without video and just a thumbnail. But just as a quick reminder, the first 2 stages of, we'll do the full 4 stages, right? The 4 stages of trading are this. 1, the first, is unconscious incompetence, where you don't know what you don't know. 2 is conscious incompetence, where you're aware that you don't know. 3 is conscious competence, where you know what you know, or you know that you know. And then 4 is unconscious competence, where you're basically on autopilot and you're doing the things you know naturally, like a habit. So the stage that most traders get stuck on is the conscious incompetence stage, right? The unconscious incompetence stage is a stage that every trader goes through. You don't know what you don't know. Either 2 things happen at this stage. 1, you have a very bad experience and you quit forever. In most cases, it means that trading wasn't something you were really passionate about or serious about in the first place. 2, you move on and you get curious. You start to know, okay, I need help with this. I can't do this by myself. I need to learn. I need to be educated. And you start venturing off into the vast world of trading education and information. And I say vast world because it is a very scary place and it's hard to determine what's true and what's not true. We actually had a great, session. I came from church on Sunday, and my pastor had a great speech on this particular topic. Basically, with all that's available on the internet now, it's really hard to determine what's true and what's not true. And what you see is a lot of this. Someone will post something and then everyone will comment under it. And the more people that you see comment, the more you believe it. Now, deep down, you have no idea if it's actually true or not. You don't know the whole story. Maybe you see like a 5-second clip or a 10-second clip. Maybe it's taken out of context. Like, you don't know the full picture, but we are so quick to pass judgment because that is, I guess, really natural to the stage of life that we're in right now, where everything's coming at you so fast, this information super duper highway, where we just need to share our opinion and have an opinion on something. And the whole sermon was about really like, we shouldn't be quick to judge. We should take time. We should look at the full picture of the story. And if we are serious about following it up or whatever like that, we should do the proper research. And that's what made me kind of think of this subject as well. Because when it comes to information out there, there's a lot of it. And the unfortunate truth is that a lot of it is factual, a lot of it is true, a lot of it is fake. And the thing is, as a newer trader, you don't know what's true, you don't know what's fake. And if you get caught up in the fake stuff, it's either going to take you down a path where you give up and quit on trading, or it's just going to increase your learning curve by that much more, because you got to kind of go that wrong way, figure out that it's wrong, and then go all the way back the right way, and at the same time kind of break off the bad habits that you have before. We typically see 2 types of traders here at Tier 1. We see the traders that come to us early on, where they kind of don't know what they don't know. They're kind of blank slates, and it's very easy to teach them. We have other traders that have had a whole bunch of bad experiences in the past, and it's a little bit harder because we have to kind of reprogram in 2 different ways. Again, 1, we have to eliminate those previous thoughts, and then 2, we have to install the new ones. And just like habits, stuff like that takes time. And before we get into kind of the 5 steps that you need to take to progress through that conscious and competent stage, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey because, although I've been doing this podcast and trading professionally for a very long time and teaching and coaching and mentoring and all that fun stuff, you may not know this, right? If you didn't go back and listen to episode 000, who is Akil Stokes? But I started off just like you guys. I was someone that came out of college, had no background or knowledge about investing, found a mentor in the financial markets, learned about investing, stock investing to be specific. And then I ventured into Forex trading mainly because I was told that I can start with less money and I can make more money in a quicker amount of time, right? The trifecta, as I mentioned in the last episode. And I really got into it not really knowing what I was getting into. And when I got to that conscious and competent stage where it's like, oh crap, like I gotta learn this stuff. It's not gonna be kind of like plug and play. I was very fortunate because I chose the right mentor the very first time. And the experience of choosing the right mentor, it's hard to say otherwise, but I'm not sure if I would have followed through if I chose the wrong mentor. If I invested a significant amount of money and got scammed, I don't know if I'd be able to bounce back from that or if I would have the desire to bounce back for that. So making the right decision is so important because, again, it could be the difference between you quitting and staying after it. And if you stay after it, you will ultimately become successful if you do the right things the right way with the right amount of effort. So the number one step that I would give you, and not number one meaning it's the best, but kind of thinking of an order in my head, is look for a realistic message. And what I mean by a realistic message is this. What do you believe? I would hope you have some knowledge about investing and trading and kind of what is a normal aspiration from the market. For example, if you come into investing or trading thinking that, hey, you're going to make 1,000% a day every single day, that is not a realistic message. But you should have some type of knowledge, or at least do some type of research on, hey, what is a normal return in trading? What is a normal return in investing? What is a normal return if I just put money in the S&P? What is a normal return from a professional trader, a prop firm trader? Go through all the different avenues of that and look for a information source or a coach or a mentor, whatever you want to call these people, that is relaying that message. If it's someone that is only talking, if it's someone that's telling you stuff that doesn't seem true, like, hey, I made 100% a day every day and I never lose any trades and this and this and this, those should be red flags. Now, again, it's part of the nature of this game for many people to come in thinking it's a get-rich-quick scheme. So realistic, maybe, many people are blinded to what realistic is. I've spoken to many traders who have come to me and asked questions where, Akil, can I make 100% a day every day for a month? And I'm like, yeah, technically you can, but probably not. I wouldn't have that as a realistic expectation. And they come back at me like, oh, you're just a hater, you're a bum, that's why you suck, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm just trying to, you ask me the question. Like, I'm like, you came to me with the question, why are you yelling at me because I gave you an answer? Like, but the truth is they just wanted validation for what they thought was true, and I wasn't someone that was gonna feed that false information to them. So step number one is look for sources, mentors, coaches that are providing a message that seems realistic. And if you don't know what realistic is, simple formula, right? Or simple saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Think about all those scam messages you get where it's like, hey, you just won a sweepstakes for $1,000. Just, click this link and I'll send it right to you. Yeah. Or like the old school ones where it's like, I'm an African prince and my money is held up in my account. If you were to just give me your bank information, it can unlock my account and I promise to give you 90%. Really? No, right? But people fall for that. So you got to have some, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So step number one, look for a realistic message. Step number two, right? Look for a consistent message, right? The one thing, right, that I've noticed about scammers, and it's cool being an OG in this game now, right, an old head, right, is that I've been through this market from what I started in 2007 and it's 2024 now. That's 17 years. I've seen a lot of things, right? I've gone through different stages of when Forex was still rather new for retail traders. I've gone through Forex becoming older and more mature and like less like at first it was like, oh, exciting new thing. Oh, it's crazy Forex, right? This is the millionaire thing, blah, blah. To now it's kind of like normalized, more like the stock market, where a lot of people have faded away from Forex because they realize a lot of these get rich quick things weren't true. I've gone from the introduction of binary options. I've gone through crypto going through its new baby phase to kind of, to be actually traded. I'm forgetting the thing now. I did 2 podcasts on this about crypto being traded as a fund, pretty much ETF, I think it was. So I have these experience of seeing what the scammers do. The most recent one has been these prop firms, where I've seen the prop firm, the online prop firm phase, where it just started off as something that was really, really, really cool, and I think a great option to many traders. To now there's 100 million of them, and half of these are scams. To recently, pretty much all of them being shut down or not taking on clients anymore. So I've got good experience with seeing the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of the scammer. And there's one thing that I've noticed about the scammers, right? One, they don't last that long, right? Scammers typically stay for a little bit and then they're gone once people figure them out. So if someone has a very small track record, if someone has, if they're brand new, that's a different thing. You got to start somewhere. But if you're seeing there's this group, I won't name them, but this group in the past that would have this track record of they'd have a YouTube channel and a page and a website. And then 6 months later, that would be all gone. But then the same people would have a new YouTube channel and a new website and a new page. And then 6 months later, that would be gone. And again, I'm not necessarily calling those people scammers because we went through something similar, right? I was here with Trade Empowered back until 2017. That company fell apart and we left and then it fell apart, not to toot my own horn. And we started Tier 1 trading. So, there have been people that have come to me who are like, well, Akil, you were part of this company and now you're part of that company. You're a scammer. So it does happen where companies grow, companies split, stuff like that happens in business. But I'm talking a consistent theme of they're here for 6 months and then something else. And they're here for 6 months and then something else, right? Or if there's not a consistent message, right? If one day or, for a certain stretch of time, they're preaching smart money concepts because that's the hot thing right now. Oh, but then a year later, they're all about this. Oh, but then a year later, they're all about that. Because here's the thing, right? Again, I don't want to blanket everyone in the same kind of deal, right? Because there are honest people out there that are teaching many different concepts. But the one thing I've noticed about professional traders, at least the ones that I've spoken to, is that although we're always learning, we tend to have the same base principles, right? I get told a lot that my YouTube videos are boring because I come in and say pretty much the same thing for the last, 10, 12 years, however long I've been doing them. And the truth is, although I've learned new concepts, I've implemented new small changes in my trading. I analyze the market a little bit differently than I did, 18 years ago. The core principles remain the same because the foundation of what I believe trading is, what's important, doesn't really change. Same thing with the whole infrastructure of having a trading plan and the importance of back testing and trading psychology and rules-based trading and all that fun stuff. So look for consistency in the message. If it's always bouncing around for the next hot thing, could be a red flag as well. Number 3, right? Once you've kind of narrowed down or at least kind of gotten rid of the blatant scammers out there, talk to people that have worked with these people, right? It's one thing, I definitely recommend talking to the coach and the mentor in their own right, but talk to people, ask around, right? Find people that are hey, have you had experience with them? What do you think? What about that? You can dive in the comment section. A lot of people are followers there for a very, very long time. A lot of them are bots as well, so you got to be careful. But if it's an open platform, try to talk to people that have actually experienced that and ask the correct questions, right? Just don't ask about, return. Ask about, are they giving support? How's the message? Is there anything fishy that's going on, right? When I chose my mentor, one of the biggest things that drew me in was the honesty. It was the right message. I read the article about in a trading competition. He finished third. He made this amazing return. And I was about to that sounds too good to be true. Then at the very end of the article, he was like, I would never do this with live money because it's too risky. And that pulled me back in. But when we first started talking, what he did was hey, come with me for a week. test out the platform, listen, come into some live sessions, listen to me, watch me do this live, talk to people, and then like make your own opinion off of that. And I was like, okay. And on day one, after I joined the session, I listened in, I talked to some people, I was sold because the honesty that was portrayed to me outside of the session and outside of the group and the company was the same honesty that I saw within. And that's one of the reasons we do the trial membership to this day, is because we want people to feel us out. We want people to actually make the commitment and make the right decision. And I know it sounds weird from like a business perspective of saying this, but like if you don't want to be here, if this isn't the right fit as far as what we stand for and what we teach, we don't really want you here, because all you're going to do is be a distraction to the rest of the community. So it kind of works both ways. It's a chance for you to kind of vet us and see how we teach and get the vibe and ask people in the community their experiences so you can make a decision whether this is the right place for me or not. But it's also a chance for our traders to be like, hey, like you probably shouldn't be on this platform because you're worried about the wrong things. Usually they try to convince you first, where it's like, hey, you shouldn't think like this, or hey, in my experience, blah, blah, blah. But if it's someone that's a complete like a-hole, they're just like, look, you probably shouldn't be here. And then when people don't feel wanted, they leave. So it kind of works both ways. So ask the questions, talk, gather information that way. That's step number 3. Step number 4, kind of touching this as part of 3, but talk to the actual coach, talk to the actual mentor, talk to the actual YouTuber, right? I guess if it's just a website, maybe you can send an email to the website creator or something like that, but talk to them, ask their opinion, ask what they stand for, ask their, if you're familiar with trading, ask some of their opinions on trading, on business, on life, whatever it may be. But don't be afraid to reach out to people, whether it's DM, whether it's email, if it's on a platform, whether it's a chat. But reach out and ask the questions, right? It is extremely important. One of the things that we do with my kid's soccer coach, and I don't mind too much because I'm a coach, I know how it is, but before each season, the coach brings all the parents together and he says, hey, like, what questions do you have for me? And it's our chance to kind of figure out like, hey, do we think this is going to be a good coach? Is this going to be a good fit? What is your philosophy? What's your opinion on practices? What's your opinion on playing time? As a coach myself with track and field, right, I do a lot of recruiting. And recruiting, what we want to do is we want to bring athletes, we want to bring their parents in, and we say, look, ask the questions. This is a perfect chance to ask the questions that are valuable to you, to the coach, and then, pay attention to the responses. And if it's stuff that sounds good, if it's stuff that you like, then that's a positive. If a response is something that you don't like, or it seems kind of shady, like they're just saying stuff to say stuff, but they don't really believe it, or they're making stuff up, that's going to be a negative. And it's part of that vetting process to make sure it's the right fit. So yes, you want to ask people or ask questions to people that have experience, but you also want to ask questions directly to the coach, the mentor, the website developer, the TikToker, the YouTuber, whatever it may be. Number 5, and this is the last one. This one goes kind of not just for finding a coach, mentor, whatever it may be, but also down the line in the trading process is do your research, right? You have to do your research, right? So the 4 steps that we named above was kind of doing your research on the coaching and whatnot, but you have to do your research on the actual thing. One of the biggest misconceptions out there is that I can just find a strategy online and plug and play, right? I'll watch a few YouTube videos, I'll throw some things on my chart, and boom, I can start unloading live money in the market. And that is the dumbest thing you can do. That is if your goal is to lose money as quickly as possible, that is the route you want to take. But you have to gather your own information. Understand that when we talk about like scammers and people that are trying to get over on you, what do you think they're going to tell you about their system? Are they going to tell you that my system fails, it's horrible, it's bad, or going to tell you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread? There's also a lot of curve fitting out there for people that have somewhat moral values, where they may have a system, and curve fitting is basically this, right? Let's say you tested a strategy over a year, and at the end of the year, it finished at break even, right? You made exactly 0. But at some point during that year, you were up 50% and then you ended up blowing it. Well, what they'll do is they'll take the period and they'll say, hey, they'll take the period from like say March to August where they had that 50% return. And they said that, hey, in this March, April, May, June, July, hey, in just a half a month, I generated a 50% return or 50% return in 6 months, right? And technically it's not a lie, right? They did that, but they frame it in the sense where it's like you expect to get a 50% return every 6 months. You're like, 50% return in 6 months, man, that's 100% a year. Man, I can compound that money and blah, 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 and make $1 million. But the truth is that the strategy failed, but they're taking the hot streak part, and it's not lying, but it's not the full truth, if you get what I'm saying. And you got to be careful of that, right? You always want to do your own research. And to add to that, there's the fact that, every trader is a little bit different. Every trader's eyes see something different. Traders have this bad habit of taking something that works perfectly and then self-sabotaging it so it doesn't, right? But whenever there's a concept that you learn, you want to take it with a grain of salt, right? Even if it's from someone trusted like me, and we encourage our traders to do this. Hey, just don't go out and trade this, back test it. Gather the data on your own, because when you gather the data on your own, that's the only way to form 100% belief. And only with 100% belief in your system are you going to have 100% belief in yourself. And only with 100% belief in yourself are you going to be able to execute your strategy day in and day out of the market without error. If not, right, because as soon as you have that crack of trust, right, you're going to start self-sabotaging. And the more you self-sabotage, that crack's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the dam is going to explode. It's going to take you on this kind of just it's going to take you to a really bad place, which ultimately ends up dark and broke and questioning life and everything you learned and all that fun stuff. So you always want to do the research yourself, even if it's from someone trusted. And I'll tell you what, there's been things that my mentors have said to me that I've believed. And then as I've grown as a trader, I've seen it in the market, I've tested it in the market, and I'm like, well, I've changed my opinion. I actually think the opposite. One of the biggest things was structure, where it's like, hey, if a level of structure is hit 3 times, it must be a powerful level of structure. Or the more times a level of structure is hit, the more powerful structure is. And I've actually seen the opposite. The more times that a level of structure is hit, and again, it depends on how it's hit, but let's say hit in a very short amount of time, the better chance that level of structure has a chance of breaking instead of holding, right? And that's something that was like, it flipped my whole mindset on things, and never would have, basically I've been able to trade an entirely different way now because I have that new information, where before I would have avoided all these other type of trades, or actually taken them in the opposite direction and probably lost money. So you have to do your own research if you want that 100% belief, and you need that 100% belief if you want to be a consistently profitable trader. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hey, if you have any tips of things that you've done to kind of vet traders, or to make sure that the information that you're gathering is right and that you're following the right people, leave it below. YouTube, there's a comment section. Leave it, right? Spotify, there's a question section. Leave it. Trust me when I say this is helpful to a lot of traders. A lot of traders have contacted me out there saying that they are going through the comment section. They love what other people are hearing. It's not that we don't like you, Akil, but we like hearing other opinions as well. So make sure you do that. That way we can keep this community growing, all right? Until next time, plan to trade, trade your plan. Akil, out.